Okay, welcome back to the Jiu Jitsu Mindset. It's Pete Deely. Some people emailed me this week, and I had to respond back to them that, look, submission coffee remains unclassified as a performance-enhancing drug. So you can go to the jujitsumindset.com and get your bag of submission coffee and compete your brains out. You're fine. You're not breaking any rules, even if you do get a little bit of an advantage. As I mentioned to you guys every week, Divine is looks after me very carefully and sends me amazing people to talk to. This week is no exception. So I've been excited. We've scheduled this conversation a few weeks back, and I'm excited to talk to Professor Rodrigo Freitas. Thank you for spending time with me. I'm grateful that you were willing to do so.
Oh, my pleasure, Peter. Thank you for doing that. Pleasure to talk to you.
In preparing to have our conversation and looking at sort of the length of your time as jiu-jitsu's been in your life and the depth of which your relationship to jiu-jitsu is, um, I often like to start these conversations with trying to ask you to think about what life would have been like had you not had jiu-jitsu come into your life, because it's
Uh-huh.
been such a big part of your time and your energy and all the rest of it. Had you poured that energy elsewhere, how would life be different and how would you be different?
Yeah, it's a hard question. So I'm not, I think I don't know. I always liked it sports my whole life.
Right?
So I was always doing sports. Like I play soccer in Brazil a lot. So I even try to play professional in Brazil
Wow.
soccer. But Brazil it's very difficult. You have to be really good. And I was okay. I was playing a lot and doing in school and trying to play professional, but I didn't go too well. I also swim a lot, so I
Okay.
compete swimming. So my family was all into sports. So
Hmm.
we did a lot of sports. My mom used to play volleyball, and
Oh,
my
wow.
dad used to play soccer too. My dad got invited to play professional soccer,
Oh my goodness.
but yeah, but back then it was my grandfather back then was more for people that had no education, people that was they didn't have like nothing kind of to do in life, people that, and my grandfather didn't allow him to do that. So and my father ended up not playing soccer, and I think I don't know, I think I would be doing something with sports, maybe with music too. I love
Oh,
music.
no kidding.
I always enjoy so much music because my dad too. My dad always used to listen music at home, and I don't know, maybe a DJ, maybe a.
Yeah, I like it. Did you
But
have an
yeah,
instrument you play? Did you have
no man,
no,
that's crazy. I love music so much, but I never played any instrument.
right?
Nothing that. Yeah, but definitely sports. I would do something with sports. I don't know,
Yeah,
but it's hard. It's hard to say. It's very hard to say because you
sure.
never know, right?
No, for sure. I was born in New York, and and I'm old enough that as Pele had his last, stretch in the Cosmos team up in New York when he came
Uh-huh.
up here to finish out his career, my my dad got to go down and see one of his games, and it was a great thrill to see the great Pele in person. Even though his past, it wasn't one of the World Cup games or anything like that, but just to see
Uh-huh.
him play, he was soccer was a big part of my childhood, and my uncle's, anyway, in our family, soccer was a big deal and something we
Uh-huh.
did a lot of. Well, I think at this juncture in life, I'm sure, to rewind the clock, who knows, you might have been one of those great DJs traveling around the world, you know, but
That
it's,
would be fun too. It's kind of like jujitsu, right? You competing, you're going all over the world, you're doing seminars, you're fighting.
yeah,
And I did that too in jiu-jitsu. I did it that a lot, and it's really fun too. So I think I always like to travel too. I always like
sure.
to move around. I never wanted to be only in my city. It was always one of my goals to travel around the world, and I think that would be something fun too.
Oh, without a doubt. When I mean, obviously you were playing, as an athlete, you were a high level athlete. Did did the martial arts in general like call to you, or like did anything happen where you're like, oh, this is actually for me, rather than, because a combat sport, I think, particularly in the beginning, to pick it. For example, boxing, I think it requires a certain, disposition to want to
Hmm.
go and punch somebody, right? I mean, not everybody likes that idea.
Yeah.
When you decided, hey, I'm going to pursue this, what was there a single reason, or you just like the whole idea of it? What was it that pulled you in?
I never was a very good like a student in school. I was always like I was very hard for me to focus in school and all
Hmm.
that. So I always enjoyed doing sports. And when I started jujitsu, it was so much fun for me. And it was more like a place that I would see my friends that we
Hmm.
would train. It was not as serious as you doing judo. I did judo too.
Okay.
So judo was way more discipline, way more like quiet, listening. My professor would pinch me if I was doing something,
Okay.
if I was being silly.
Yeah.
You know, my professor when he started was a purple belt
Right.
back then, and he was I think 17 years old.
Wow.
You know, so he was a little kid too. He was a kid, right?
Yeah. Right.
And it was just fun on the mat. It was just like it was such a hard thing for me to do too because I was very young.
Hmm.
I was 13 years old. So everybody would like, I would be the punch bag at the gym, like, oh, come here. I'm going to submit you 10 times on your right arm now, 10 times on your left arm. So they would like just to play with me. And I would go home some days like crying, like, man, I don't know if I can do this.
Right.
I think it was, but in my mind, like, I can't quit. I can't quit. In Brazil back then, jiu-jitsu, it was like, this guy's going to quit. They didn't care about you staying on the mat or not, you know.
Right.
They didn't care that. They were not worried about this. So they just would put you on test all the time, you know. And I think that's something that really caught my attention on that. The fun part and also the hard part. It was really, really hard, but at the same time was really, really fun too. And I think that really caught my attention.
Yeah.
As I was going and getting better, I really, really love this sport. And I was like, man, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I
Wow.
didn't know if I was going to make money with jiu-jitsu back then,
Sure.
but I think everybody that was doing jiu-jitsu after a while, they would go to MMA or something.
Yeah.
So, but at the beginning, I was just doing because I really love, and it was fun for me, and I had good friends there too.
It's interesting to me. I've spoken to other Brazilians and that came up and taught in the United States in the, maybe 15 years ago or whatnot. And they talked about what you just described. Like they came up and they ran their schools in that manner you just described, where come in and you almost were running students out of your school because the
Yes,
idea,
exactly,
and
exactly.
so one professor I was speaking to was like, "Hey, I started on day one with 30 students, and by Friday I had like four, and I realized, oh, I can't. This is not a way to run a business. Like, I need to figure out
Yes,
how
yes,
to,
yes.
how to keep them."
Yeah, we would go to Brazilian Nationals in São Paulo, and we would go in a bus. So he would rent a bus, and we all the team would go in a bus. And on the way back, he would say like, "Man, I don't know how many students will stay after this trip." You know, they would like make people do crazy stuff on the bus. They would beat up people on the bus. It was wild, man. It was
Yeah,
wild. It was like
yeah,
crazy, crazy, like a bunch of crazy people. They would put people inside the bathroom in the bus, like 10 people in a place that could be one people at a time, you know.
just the hazing of
Yes.
yeah. I mean, you were a great athlete as you walked onto the mats. Was it a natural? Did you take to it right away physically, or did it take time to,
No, it took time.
Yeah, okay.
I was not like a very like I would say I didn't have the one thing that I had really good it was I always have a very good cardio.
Hmm.
I could run, I could swim, I could do, but I was not very strong physically. Like I was
Hmm.
good cardio, so I could last forever. And I think
Right.
that was my thing at the beginning. They would like go hard on me, submit people. I was always keep going, keep going, keep
Yeah.
going. That was one thing that I had. But I was not very skillful. Like I didn't have like I was guy, oh, this guy's gonna be great in jiu-jitsu. It was not like that for me.
Right. Yeah, I think when I watch particularly the kids in our, in our gym, and I see the kids where if this is their first real athletic experience, sort of what
Hmm.
happens with them. And then the kids who are a little older, the ones that might have been exposed to wrestling, to watch how they are. But for my youth, the basketball, football, soccer, the body is just in such a different position than jiu-jitsu. It feels like I mean, granted, I was 50 when I started, so I don't have the
Hmm.
same
Imagine
skills.
for you, yeah,
Yeah,
so hard.
it was definitely difficult. But I like to ask that question because I think many of us feel like, boy, this is very difficult to learn. And so when I talk to somebody who's achieved so many things like you have, I think it's useful for people to hear, hey, you didn't just step on the mat and all this stuff made perfect sense to you and you had
No,
amazing
no,
skills from day one.
no.
Yeah.
No, like I told you, I used to cry some days going home, going back home. And many times I thought, man, this might not be for me. I cannot. And imagine back then there was no YouTube. There's
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
There's nothing, nothing. I learned a lot of jujitsu because my professor would teach jujitsu, the techniques that he knew, right? He
right.
didn't. Back then was like, oh, I'm gonna show you half guard, close guard, open guard, because it was difficult, right, to learn and understand all these positions. That there was no way to learn besides you going to your professor and learning from him. So he was a purple belt. He came from Rio to my city, Belo Horizonte, and then he started teaching there. So I learned a lot by watching a cassette video.
Oh,
There's someone, yeah, there's someone from US came and he made the cassette video from I think Worlds in Brazil, 2000, I think 99. I don't remember the dates, but it was around that date. And the video was it was the fight, the actual fight. And then whenever something happened on the fight, like a sweep, a submission, it would repeat like five
okay.
times,
Yeah,
and it
nice.
would be a hip hop on the back.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were like at my friend's house watching and then watching those techniques. And then we would go to the gym and kind of try some of the techniques. But there was no like, oh, you gotta we just by watching we were
Yeah.
learning. So it was very, 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 very hard to learn.
Yes. When I listen to you and your other students from those years, it's kind of amazing to me that um, the the art was able to survive those years because
Mhm.
instruction, the number of people who were black belts that could instruct at that level seemed to be quite small
Oh
relative
yeah.
to like today. I think jiu-jitsu, certainly in the United States, and I think many places in the world, is a very fast growing art.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
but you guys were the keepers of the time when it was harder, I think, to learn and to keep connected to different people. So
Yeah.
we owe a debt of gratitude for you guys paying attention to the VHS tapes and keeping it alive.
Yeah. My city was only two instructors. It was two black belts, and my professor was a purple belt. So it was only two black belts there, and my professor as a purple belt. But you see the power of jujitsu.
That's
It's a
right.
martial art that's so much fun, and that it didn't really matter. That's one thing that it caught up to my mind. It was like, man, this thing is so much fun.
Yeah.
How can not this thing be so big? I think unconscious, I didn't even know, and in my mind, it was just so much fun, and you will understand so much more about yourself, about the things that you're strong and the things that you are weak, and you're working on that all the time. And it's just so powerful. It's really really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's part of what the time and energy that I've put into the podcast is connected to my feeling that there's a uniqueness to jujitsu in terms of what it can do for a human being. And the
Hmm.
whole like why I've spent my time trying to encourage other people by talking to, the world's greatest like yourself as a way to kind of keep the encouragement of the ordinary, those of us who are unlikely to ever achieve any world champion
Hmm.
type status. But
Hmm.
that, um, unlike the other sports that I've been a part of, other martial arts that I've been a part of, I agree with you. It feels unique. I mean, for you, you translated that into, those beginnings of your learnings as you continue to progress. You competed at, you know, extraordinary levels. Um, I'm curious about the role of competition in your own development, and then do you have thoughts about those of us who are at the beginning of our journey, like what competition, does it have benefit? Is it something useful, or do you feel like, no, you don't really need it? Everybody seems to have their own take.
Uh, I'll give you an example now of one of my students. He's gonna be fighting his first tournament ever, and he's now so disciplined. Like he was training before. He was training, but training for fun, just training, eating the things that he always used to eat. He's a healthy guy.
Sure.
But drinking on the weekend and doing all that. And now that he decided to do a tournament because his daughter trains with me, his two daughters, and he's like his daughter just start competing now too. So actually, she did an in-house. She's gonna compete now on the in-house this Saturday here at the gym, and he's other daughter to will be her first tournament. And I think because they're doing, he wants to do it too. And he always wanted to do it. He always told me that it was one of his goals. And I can see how much he's changing now. Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
just trying to lean up. He looks like so much more young. He's like incredible. I looked at him yesterday. He's my neighbor.
right.
We were talking, and it's so nice to see it. Like he leaned up like a lot, and he said, I can move so much better, and I feel so much better. And I think it's something that you should. I think in my mind you don't have to, but
Right.
I think something that you should do at least once. I think
Yes.
it's a challenge for you, and it's not like I don't tell my students to compete. I'll tell, hey guys, we're gonna compete at this tournament. It's really fun. We try to bring the whole team. It's something that we get together, that we have fun, we cheer each other up, and it's just a fun thing to do. But I also tell them, hey, you should be preparing yourself if you want to do this. You should not just go, I just want to go just to try it out, right? No, you want to go to do well, right? You want to
Sure.
go and give everything you have at the gym, do the trains. If you can train 3 times a week, come 3 times a week and make a good meal prep for you and sleep good, you know, do this and change the time that you're going to do this, change and see how you feel, see how you enjoy it.
Yes.
And it's a big challenge. And I think it's going to be something that, it might change your life. It might really help you with other stuff on your life too.
Right. For an older athlete and an older beginner, for as you know, for myself, as you mentioned, food, in terms of the friction that signing up for a tournament gives me, is to the weight class that I belong in is probably
Mhm.
5 pounds heavier than I walk around in. So it's not like some
Yes.
massive cut. It's a cut that is just, don't be such a pig, Pete. Like I say to
Mhm.
myself, like, oh, we don't have to do drastic changes, but those subtle changes, you know, giving up alcohol for the weekend, and I think it's easier if you go, well, I'm not going to do this for my whole life, but for this period of time, I am. And then once you experience these changes, I think it can be something that does affect your whole life, as you're saying. Um, yeah,
And you can see you can do it, right? You're
yeah,
like, oh,
that's
I can
exactly
do
right. Yeah.
that. Oh, I can do this. Not a big deal. I can survive without this. And I think that's a good message that can stay with you.
Yes, I agree 100%. Well, in my preparation for you, the internet has a description of some of your great matches, and I got a chance to look at those. But I wanted to ask you, if we were to ask you just to react, like not to think about it,
Uh-huh.
but just to be like, what was your most either memorable fight or memorable role? What comes to mind? Because maybe it's what I read about, but maybe it's something different.
Uh-huh.
So how'd you answer that question?
Yeah. I would say like it always comes to my mind. I lost the match, but it was a great fight, and I was very proud of because he was the best of the best. And back then, unfortunately, he passed away. It was Leandro Lo.
Hmm.
I fought him, and it was an awesome match because he was also heavier than me. He was not in a lightweight division, so it was a division combined that the IBJJF did. So it was he was a middleweight and I was a lightweight. So he was a bunch of good guys on that division. And I was able to fight him, I believe, on the second or third match. And it was a good match. You know, I lost him by advantage,
Hmm.
and I always play a lot of guard in my life, and my guard was something that was very sharp. My guard retention,
Yeah.
and I was able to defend all his guard passes. You know, I had some chances on the fight. It was his low was pretty hard to do anything, but this is one of them. Yeah, this is definitely one of them that I was. It's always stays in my mind.
Yeah, I think in those, it was interesting, like the often the losses stay in our mind, sometimes even
Yes.
more than the wins, because
Uh
when
huh.
it stings a little bit more, obviously. But to have one of the things when I encourage my fellow beginner students, like, hey, when we go, uh, all that we can focus on is what was is to be the best that we can, and the outcome we can't go with the outcome as the way we're going to say this was a good experience or a bad experience. It's more
Mm-hmm.
about self-mastery. So it's interesting to me in your journey that sticks out as did it give you additional confidence as you had subsequent
Oh,
matches?
100%,
Yeah,
100%. Because he would pass everybody's guard, everybody guard. He passes everyone's guard, like
right.
really, really good. And just by feeling that, and they're like, oh man, it was tough, but it's not like, oh my god, you know.
Yeah.
And it just definitely gave me like a really, really good confidence. I would train with very top athletes too,
Hmm.
uh, and I was feeling very good training with them, and they were having a hard time passing my guard too. So whenever I went to him, I already had a good confidence, but that was just kind of like, okay, yeah, you
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so one of the things that I notice in myself and I notice among the other adult athletes in particular is this experience. I consider it like a stress inoculation that you experience this stress in your training and perhaps your occasional competition. And I believe that it helps you handle stress in the other parts of your life better. So, as somebody who's been a successful business person as well, did those, is that true for you too? Like your ability to endure being uncomfortable, being stressed out in those situations, did that translate into other parts of your life, particularly business?
Oh yeah, 100%, no doubt. No, I think that's why it's so big now too, because there's a lot of people there, businessmen that they have a busy life that they have to deal with a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and a lot of them are doing jujitsu now because it's something that like we do jujitsu. We always say, oh, someone's mounting on you, trying to choke you, trying to, you have that feeling every day. Someone's trying
Yeah.
to submit you, someone's trying to pass your guard. You're dealing with pressure all the time, and something happened in your life. Someone cut off you on a I don't know on the
Sure.
streets on you. You're like whatever. I mean, just go ahead. It's
Yes,
not a
right.
problem at all. Like you take things in a way better way. You know, things are the stress at home. I always tell people for me now, jujitsu is a therapy.
Yes, right.
I tell my students all the time, guys, this is like some people go to church, some
Right.
people, I don't know, is a monk or
Yeah.
whatever. And for me, it's jujitsu. I come to the gym, I'll put a music, and we have fun. We talk, we train. All that stress, it's here, and then I'm good for the rest of the day. And
Yeah.
I always tell my wife, we go on a vacation. I'll bring my gear with me, and I love to train in different places, get to know different people,
Yeah.
and it's definitely super helpful.
When I was watching one of the YouTube videos about you, and I just am curious about like another component because I was looking at the in spirit clothing and whatnot, and
Mhm.
does it extend even to your like spiritual point of view? Does it?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, maybe you could talk about
100%.
that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like when you train in jujitsu, it's kind of like a meditation. You can
Hmm.
only think about that. You can only think about what you're doing, the moves, and it's kind of like you clear your mind. So
Yeah.
your spirit it gets lighter, and after you training, your mind is lighter. You're exhausted, right?
Yeah.
That feeling of exhaustion and tiredness, and it brings you to a very calm place. And it's special when we listen to music to training and all that combination. It's like you in a nice party and a nice and with your friends and joking, having fun. It's yeah, it's
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, without a doubt. And when I think about a little bit of what you're saying about being in the moment, I think for many of us that our life is in such constant motion that thinking about what I need to do, thinking about what I did is a part of the day. And when, these young guys are, trying to kill me, sometimes it feels like, I mean, I'm only thinking about, hey, let me try to, survive the
Survive
moment.
here.
Yeah, survive the
Yeah.
moment if nothing else. And but that experience puts me in that moment 100%. And so as somebody whose meditation's been part of my life, I think for me to sit still in a quiet place and try to achieve that, like being in the moment versus being in motion, I think it
It's
provides
better.
yeah, it's a quality of
Meditation with motion, it's easier.
it's much easier, but I believe
Yeah,
that it conveys the same benefits than those, monks that are able to discipline themselves. It's a
I
short,
think so too.
yeah, it's a shortcut as possible. In somebody who's touched so many lives, similar to asking you like, what's your most memorable role or fight, that there's a reaction. My guess is you've seen over the years many people benefiting, maybe even being transformed by jujitsu. And I'm wondering, like, if a story pops to mind, like this was the one that was the most
Mhm,
dramatic.
mhm. I think there's one that was really, that was very happy to hear. It was a dad that came to me once, and he was telling me his son was very, very quiet.
Mm,
He had like a problem in interact with other people, and he was in med, so he was taking medicines and all
mm,
that. And the dad came to me once, and he's like, Rodrigo, thank you very much for the jiu-jitsu and for all you guys do for the kids at the gym. And my son is off the meds now. He doesn't have to take any medicines
oh,
now.
wow.
It's because of, yeah, it's because of jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu completely changed his mind. He's able to look people eyes now when he's talking. I think that was one that really stayed with me. And I always, when someone asks me that, I always think about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. One of the things that Professor Lucas, who I train with, talks about when it comes to the kids in particular, is this notion that some kids need to be brought up to be more aggressive because they lack either confidence or they need to be a little less shy in the world. And then other kids are a little too aggressive and need to be kind of moderated down.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu seems to help people find that
Their
that
balance.
that balance. Yeah. One of like this favorite little exchanges I had in this podcast was with Pedro Sauer years ago now. And
Uh-huh.
he was saying, hey, jujitsu has a tendency to kind of squish out the negative parts of your personality.
Yes.
And
Yeah, 100%.
yeah,
Otherwise, you won't stay in jiu-jitsu,
that's
right?
exactly right. Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't stay, man. If you're not able to work on those, you're gonna leave. It's we say jiu-jitsu is for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can do jiu-jitsu, but you have to pay the price, right? And that's one of the prices.
Yes.
You have to really work on those things that you don't like it, inside yourself and
Yes.
outside.
Yeah.
So that's why it changed your life, right? You become a better person no matter what.
And that's part of like the pleasure of this podcast for me is that I'm a 55-year-old purple belt. I'm a
Uh-huh.
zero note in the jiu-jitsu world.
And
However,
congrats to you, because man, that's tough. I had some students here same way, and that's tough. You should be proud of yourself. That's not many people that will do that.
yeah, it's been I mean, for my own personal journey, it occupies much bigger part of my brain than it should. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I love it, and it's one of the things that is so personal to me because in my time there, I'm not, I mean, I'm in service to the community in a sense. I want to be a good training partner. I want to be a good student, but it's really for me, and the bulk of my life is spent making sure that I'm being a good father, I'm being a good husband, I'm being a good business person.
Mhm.
And so it's well, but my point being about somebody who have zero impact on the jiu-jitsu world. I'm not, I'm not some great champion. I'm not any of that. But everybody who's agreed to come on, who is in that camp, they're people, like yourself, people who are important to the world. They treat me terrifically well, just like this conversation. I haven't had
Mhm.
anybody come and have an ego to be like, I don't know why I'm talking to you.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
They instead have engaged with me with like a humility and a respect that I've really loved, because I think in other sports, sometimes the people who are the most famous are not always in the most important and notable, always have the type of
Yeah.
character that is like that. In uh, I'm going to I go every year to California for a couple of weeks, and you're in where now? Your academy's
Redondo
in
Beach.
Redondo. Yeah, can you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about where people might want to find you? I mean,
Yeah. So we are here in Redondo Beach. It's you saying about the address?
yeah, just like if somebody may want to come and know where you're at, and
Uh, it's Inspirit Jiu-Jitsu Academy, so that's the name, and it's Redondo Beach. So
okay.
yeah, we guys are more than welcome. Anyone that wants to come, have fun, train with us. It's anyone's more than welcome to be here and train.
What's the website again?
It's inspiritjiujitsuacademy.com.
.com. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that you say you love to when you travel to train on the road, and many people from I live in Arizona, many people go to California for the summer. Maybe some of our folks will show up at your door and train.
Please, yeah, whenever you're here, you have to come.
I would love that. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few folks in California I've got a chance to speak with. One of my insecurities is to go to a gym that I'm not familiar with and to be comfortable in that environment. I
Mhm.
recognize when I go to a competition, I don't know who those guys are, and I'm able to make my way through that. But I want to
Mhm.
uh, just in my personal development, to be able to just go to a gym and trust that I'll be okay there. I have certain physical limitations that I always worry, like, oh, somebody's
Oh,
gonna.
for sure. Yeah, you never know. Unfortunately, you never know. You might go to a place and might be someone crazy. It's
Yeah.
unfortunately. No, but here you can come. You're 100% gonna have fun, train. You'll be fine.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to hear. Well, maybe this
Uh,
year I'll make my way up to see you.
please, yeah.
Now I would love for you to come back another time. I offer this as a question that some people will answer and other people don't. If I was to ask you, hey, if you had a superhero name for you as a jiu-jitsu athlete, you got anything that comes to mind?
Ooh, when I think I don't know. Like Spider-Man. I like to
Oh,
play
there we
Spider-Man.
Oh, there we go. Spiderguard the
You probably
Spider-Man.
had you probably heard that many times, right?
No, you're the first Spider-Man. We've
Oh
had
yeah, okay,
yeah,
okay.
we've had a doodle bug.
Doodle bug,
Yeah,
okay.
because he's like he let elbows tight, wants to be in tight.
Uh-huh,
We've
uh-huh.
had that, but I think Spider-Guard to Spider-Man, that's perfect.
Yeah, I love to play guard, and I don't know. I think that came to my mind. Yeah, Spider-Man.
I love it. Okay. Well, listen, I hope that you would come back and speak to us another time, and I hope
Mhm.
everybody goes and looks at your website, and if they're in town, they come and visit you. It sounds like, hey, this is a safe place. Go and you'll be well taken care of. No reason to be
100%.
intimidated. Yeah, that would be
No
great.
doubt, no doubt. Come have fun.
I would love that. Well, Professor, thank you again, and hope that we can schedule another one in the future.
Anytime, anytime, Pete. Thank you for your time and thank you for doing that. That's a great work that you're doing. You should keep up
Thank you
because
very much.
we need that. We definitely need that. So less people quitting
Yes,
and
that's that.
more people can get the benefits that we've been talking about. So we definitely need that more.
Excellent. That's my hope for our podcast. So it's generous of you to
Uh-huh.
say that, and I hope
For
everybody
sure.
does.
For sure.